Hey everybody, welcome back to the Feature Crew. Today we'll be looking at Claude 4.5 Sonnet. So this is Anthropic's latest entrance into the AI battle. This is a coding focused model. They're claiming that they're beating Codex, so that would be pretty awesome. And we'll give it its usual planet test. So we'll see if we can get into some of the maze tests, maybe some business reasoning, and see how it performs.
Let's dive in.
For the planet test, we're going to evolve beyond our normal single HTML results. The models have gotten really good at that. So now we're allowing it to build out a project structure if it wants, but we're giving it the freedom to make multiple files, to reference them, to organize it how it sees fit, on the promise that this should lead to an even more nuanced planet generation.
So we'll go ahead and kick that off.
That's interesting. I mean, this is an interesting battle now because you're seeing Anthropic just sort of double down on the we are the coding people. We're doing coding models, doing coding things. OpenAI, of course, much broader, right? We're the chat people, we're the video gen people, we're the image gen people. Anthropic sort of picked a lane here. So curious if that focus leads to a better outcome.
So we were seeing it go through and create presumably multiple files.
Yeah, definitely.
Right now it's been going for like a couple of minutes. First reaction, like in terms of just having the liberty to go create everything, it's doing pretty well to make like a full project. Pretty good prompt adherence, just kind of looking through. Obviously, we want to run it to see if it actually did all these things.
Can we run it though?
I mean, it says publish. So this just publishes vite config. So it does give us the multiple files. We were going to give Anthropic a lot of marks if it figured out a way to more easily orchestrate or run everything in one go. Unfortunately, we're not there yet. So we'll go ahead and copy paste these over into a folder structure, run it, and render it for you all to see. Hey. Okay. So we are to get there.
Okay, awesome. So here we see 4.5's results.
So far, not bad. I really do like the little floating debris. I guess there's stars nearby.
The biomes feel weird. The clouds are there. That's nice. Controls are working.
Yeah, zoom.
And that kind of tracks with what we've seen with these newer coding models is very rarely do you get, like we used to just have this thing not run and have to multi-turn 2, 3, 4 times to get it working.
Yeah.
And these models are now fairly consistent at getting the sim up and running, and we've had to push them further to move beyond their ability. I will say the shaders here feel beneath what GPT-5 did.
Yep. I do like this time of day. I don't know if it's at all correct. It looks like you only have sun for like a few hours. Unless maybe we go to the other side of the planet, maybe it's working. Kind of like dusk that you get, the kind of red glow. It's quite cool. And then cloud speed, if we turn down rotation speed and see the clouds rotate. Okay.
That's cool.
So it's only selected a few controls. Everything looks pretty okay. We can regenerate the planet. Okay. And that seems to just like vary the noise. And then again, everything's working pretty smoothly. So I think we'll give it a picture of this just to be like, hey, the water looks weird. See if it can push from that. Maybe add a few sliders, but we'll tee up another iteration, see how it does. Awesome. So we just teed off the follow-up. We are asking it to make sure it looks at the shader of the water. We want a slider for terrain height. That's just like a kind of canonical one we always ask for. And just have a visual pass and make sure it's handling biomes. So it's immediately gone into coding. Let's see. Sometimes we had issues with Claude doing like version 28. Like it will just sometimes keep iterating. Yeah. So we just see the the dreaded V2, but fingers crossed it doesn't go spin off 1,000 times, and we will render it up when it's finished. So it looks like it finished. It's quite verbose in how it like responds. Actually, it's quite interesting to see that it will give like a whole lot of bullet points and so on. I guess that's good from like a observability. It feels very like, as Chris was saying, this is focused on coding. This feels very much what you'd see in a ticket, right? Like this, that you can go and have a look. Exactly what it thought it changed. We'll go ahead and copy this over and let's see how it renders. It does hot reload and this does not bode well. Yeah, no, it's just constantly dying. This lighting system update is not a function.
All right, so we updated the code base with the latest version it gave us. Unfortunately, we did hit this reoccurring function error where it can't find a lighting function that it expects. A bit surprising. We're not used to seeing the builds break anymore. We're used to these things being pretty robust. We'll see if it can give us a fix here and get a planet back.
Thankfully, it fixed itself pretty quick. We just copy pasted the error over. It just removed one unnecessary thing, it looks like, from a single file. So we'll copy that over and fingers crossed that fixes it.
Okay, we're back.
Okay, so that did work this time. We still get one error, shader error. This looks okay.
Yeah, it makes me feel like I need to put my glasses on. Like it's just
really
low fidelity on the
really low fidelity. It looks like it kind of just got rid of like dynamic water. You know what I mean? Like there's now like no quote unquote like fluid
Right.
water. It's now just all kind of the same. Still kept high, clouds.
That does seem to be the error in the console, though. It has something to do with the
Yeah,
water.
shader stuff. Okay, and the terrain height does something, but yeah, it's. I mean, we see a little bit of difference in biomes at the top.
But it shouldn't be green at the top, right? It should
Yeah.
be icy.
Yeah. Okay, we'll give it this other error to see if that maybe is one of the reasons why the water is looking weird and the shader is looking weird, and we'll reaffirm it again to please make this look better. And we'll see if it can do anything, but not necessarily the best performance on Planet. I'm kind of surprised. This is
I am as well.
it's pretty decent. And again, this could be because we're doing the V2 prompt where it can have multiple, but we would have assumed that having more freedom allowed it to express itself even more, especially given this is such a coding focused model. So we'll tee up the error and give it one last go. We'll see what we get. How did it get to V15 so fast? Well, thankfully, it looks like it's stopped here. Okay, so we gave it the update. We noted it's gone to 15 versions already. It seemed to do a lot of iteration this time. Just kind of scrolling through, it looks like it's tried to take the improved visual fidelity and spin it off as best it could. So let's see. Yeah, I mean, technically, it's less. It's probably better. You know what I mean? If I'm being objective, it's still weird that the snow.
I think
bits...
its biomes are perfectly wrong, though.
Yeah. Like the poles should be
green. Right.
Yeah. But this does look, I mean, a little more Minecrafty in a sense. It's still very low res. The water looks a little bit better. Like, I know it's not dynamic or anything, but it looks like it's tried to, this should be the fluid, basically. It's not it's not just ground or whatever. Terrain height. Okay, it works.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't really know how to spin this other than to say this is a regression from state of the art. I mean, between the errors we've encountered, the quality of the output. Again, we don't know if this is just a byproduct of we ran it in their web app. Maybe it works better in Cursor. Maybe it works better in the command line interface. But this takes me back in time, looking at this and the iterations we've had to do. Especially unfortunate coming off the back of GPT-5 and how well it did there.
I don't know if I'd say it's like a massive regression. It was just surprising that it didn't knock this out of the park compared to other models, especially when we've been hearing about how impressive it is from a coding perspective. So yeah, I mean, please let us know if you've had other experiences with this and whether like building in a Cursor or whatever is much better. But using the web UI, not super good, I'll be honest.
Great.
Yeah. All right. So unfortunately, we won't push it more from here. We probably will take it for a spin. Another video where we go focus more on coding, but we did want to, as a first impressions, go through our business reasoning and agentic reasoning. So we'll now move on to our business reasoning portion.
Okay. So now our standard business reasoning question, we're going to ask it to conduct an investigation into the state of the art for AI models. You might recall from previous tests, what we're looking for here is, A, can it gather the information? We kind of assume it can. But then how does it handle the variety of different benchmarks, and different benchmarks have different representations of the models. Some models haven't been through given benchmarks. How does it decide to analyze that? We were quite impressed with GPT-5 respecting what has or has not been measured by a given benchmark. In previous versions of OpenAI's models and Anthropic's, they would try to create like a meta notion, a meta measurement and munge these results together, which isn't quite as useful. So curious if 4.5 will follow what GPT-5 did and be pretty discrete on what benchmarks handled which model. Let's take a look.
Awesome. So it's done its tool training. It has correctly invoked web search, and we did this with extended thinking, not deep research. Nice view of how it's doing its web searching, what it's actually getting.
It starts with Anthropic first.
Yeah.
Taking the Google route, I see.
We'll let it run. It'll probably take another couple minutes, and we'll see how it does in the information gathering first.
So we've come back with the investigation into the latest AI models. It starts with itself, very self-congratulatory, calling out Opus and then Sonnet 4.5, claiming it's the best coding model per industry benchmarks, which is true across some measurements for sure. And then this is something that they are touting a lot is the long agentic autonomous running. They said they got it running for 30 hours versus 7 on Opus. This is true. They mentioned this. I'm just surprised we haven't seen it in coding. It's possible we didn't use it in the right setup, but it did find those correctly. OpenAI, it's interesting. It didn't break out GPT-5. It didn't say GPT-5 codex. It just said 5. Here you go. It didn't mention 5 thinking versus whatever they call it, fast or something like that. So okay, I guess is my response. Like yes, it's sort of is okay at the response, but is not as good as we got with 5.
It's kind of ad hoc pulling in benchmarks, you know what I mean? Like whatever it can. Right. And even just like benchmark performance coding, state of that across multiple benchmarks. This is more like a summary. There's even, for example, benchmark performance hallucination rate is just given as a benchmark here. And it's very ad hoc, right? So GPT-5 has this, but then it's kind of skipped it for these ones. O3 seemingly has one as well.
Yeah, so less reasoning over it. This reads very much like I pulled things from articles and organized them.
Summarized articles, basically.
Yep.
I mean, to be fair, that is what the intention here is, but it's just a little bit, it's fine. You know, it was maybe the vibe-based assessment as we're kind of going through. So when we went through before we started talking, it did pick up pretty much most of the important models. So good that it's able to like kind of prioritize from the web search. We will now go on to the next part. Like it did a little bit of a summary at the bottom about key insights and trends, but it was really just trying to give it a very high level summary. Yeah. So our next part is now to take this data and then ideally graph it out, get some insights from it. So it'll be interesting to see how this one goes. Okay. So we'll kick it off now as we talk through it. We are going to have it try and visualize improvements in model performance. That's the ask, to see if it can project out. As Chris alluded to, the best models try not to, funge the data and pull it all together. We want it to try and give recommendations for small to medium-sized businesses. And we also include something around, continue to iterate to find novel findings, which is really just make sure you think about this. So we kicked it off. We can immediately see that it's doing some more web search, which is interesting because we were trying to say based on the information you pulled, and it's immediately trying to supplement. It's not a bad thing, but
there's a meta point here where we will have reached a new level of model when and none of the models have done this, when it's capable of having scrutiny for some of the claims. Like you'll notice when you go look at sources that all of the models have done so far, it will sort of take company claims at face value. It won't be critical of them. So if, like I saw an IBM article, if IBM says something, it must be true. I think what you'd expect from a true coworker or a research assistant is a level of cynicism or a level of curiosity, probing of, is this true? What's the company thinking? What biases does an individual source have?
So after it did its analysis, it's pulled it together in a report. We'll have a quick look at the content and we'll discuss through that.
I think I may differ from you here. I don't love this. I think it's cool that it put together a report, but I don't trust it. It feels a little too glitz and glam. Yeah. You're seeing some problems here. When we noted it, best reasoning for Grok 4 is definitely not found in evidence right now. That is that problem I brought up earlier of it's taking claims at face value.
Yep.
And I don't even think that's a great claim at face value. I think currently your best reasoning is probably GPT-5 Pro. So that seems odd. And then you noted down at the bottom here, these bars don't make any real sense. They're just sort of arbitrary.
Yeah.
I think if I think about a work context, if I presented this to my skip level or something, they'd be like, what is this? What did you do? Like, what are you trying to say here?
Yeah. And we'll kind of tap through here. The performance trends, I think it actually did not too bad here because it kept the benchmark separated. I kind of hesitant here that we bench maybe it's just a very small increase, but for some reason it's kind of plotted it strangely. But regardless, it did an okay job making sure that it didn't put those all together. It tried to do some kind of log scale to show cost efficiency going down. Again, it's not entirely clear which models it's picking out. This seems directionally correct, but it's just the cost per billion tokens is now 7 cents, but then later on it's now 10 cents. That kind of implies it's getting more expensive, which is not true. So again, on Chris's point of not being very reliable, it tried to do some kind of projection here. and it gets away with the correct insight that these are all approaching saturation, so that there'll have to be different specialized capabilities and so on. So I liked that it was at least able to pick this up, and it tries to give some confidence levels, saying that as you predict further out, you're less confident. So this was at least not terrible. Here it's trying to do some model comparisons, and you can hover to see. But
yeah, I mean, the quality of the charts from an interactivity perspective is pretty good. Like I like that. I loathe the visual style of this, but that's something you can prompt around. It's very like, you don't want to go to your management team and present a bright emoji-ified chart to make a business decision.
And then last things, novel insights, DeepSeek disruption. It's just because it's cheaper, saturation of benchmarks, autonomous coding, cost collapsing. So again, I would say, again, just these are okay. Like maybe as Chris said, like this does kind of feel like a little bit back in time. It's not like this is completely terrible, but it's just not the same kind of wow factor. And I know that's very vibe based, but a lot of this is what we were seeing maybe end of last year. Like I do like that it's tried to break this down of like, hey, here's like different scenarios and what you can do, but it's still very much like it does feel a little bit surface level in that sense, right? Like it's not. A couple of times with GPT-5 and maybe even Gemini, the insights I was getting were extremely good. We haven't seen anything about infrastructure here, at least from our skim. A lot of this is like very, like as Chris said, it's just kind of taking these at face value, right? Like, Grok's so good, SWE-bench means it's going to be the best for production code and just use this or whatever. It's not really trying to do that next level novel analysis. Right. Like, again, starting with DeepSeek is, like, there's a lot of like maybe geopolitical stuff here that you need to think about. Multimodal, is correct, but then it's like, hey, just keep using DeepSeek because it's cheap, as opposed to, often we'll say like, if you're doing something coding, why not use the best coding model, even if it's more expensive? Like you're going to get a much better ROI. And it's tried to think about that with monthly costs and so on. But yeah, it's very, even all these are just like single sentences, right? And this is the report it gave us, right? So the implication is this is what we give to LT, like, yeah.
Outside of the confidence interval, it also didn't set its scenarios very well. Like, I remember the GPT-5 response is very much like, okay, if you're a small business with this kind of budget, if you're a larger enterprise with this kind of budget, here's some assumptions I'm making.
Yep.
To your point, it did do that second level. Oh, yeah, there's a geopolitical risk here. Oh, okay, there's maybe I'm a large enterprise and I care about sequestering data. Okay, that's over here. I'm not seeing that here. This, again, follows the pattern of the first response on this test of summarizing some stuff, taking it at face value, and not really extrapolating a ton from that.
Yep.
But we see a lot of these models biased towards cheapest cost equals best. So you see DeepSeek get recommended a lot, even though in enterprise settings you would not get that level of recommendation. So interesting. I feel very similar to the coding test. This is fine, not great. I can't make a strong case for why you'd use this over GPT-5. I guess maybe costs, depending on how their model or their token use nets out. I don't know. How are you feeling?
About the same. Like, again, could just be we might have hit a few like bad prompts, but it's not blowing us away relative to the current state of the art. And again, I think one of the things here is it is cheaper and probably generally better than what they previously had. But it's not wowing me. Like there might be other specializations. So again, I think the testing more on coding in the future will be great with this model. I'm not hopeful that it's going to get much better results than say GPT-5 and business reasoning. But we'll go ahead and test agentic reasoning, hoping that it will at least blow that out the park. It looks like it's been doing pretty well with tool calling and so on for now. So we'll tee that up and see how it goes. So regular viewers of the channel will know about our maze test. The idea here is we are giving it a maze in an ASCII representation. You can see that we're pasted in here. And the goal is to basically get to the end. Now, most of the state-of-the-art models are now able to essentially use code to help solve this. And that's often, it's kind of getting like saturated in a bit like that. But we're starting with a relatively big maze because we assume Claude will be able to do the same thing. So we're starting with 20 by 20. The hard thing often now is actually understanding and representing the ASCII so you're able to do your coding with it. So we'll send it off, see how it kind of approaches this. Sometimes we give it an image. For this scenario, we're just giving it the prompt that gets pasted, so the ASCII representation. So yeah, you can see immediately it's trying to pass the ASCII correct, and it should eventually do some kind of code analysis.
Yep. Yeah, well, the most successful implementations we've seen is them creating an algorithm to solve the maze, which is sort of breaking our test, as we mentioned in previous videos, because it isn't using raw reasoning to do it, but at the same time, using your reasoning to figure out how to use the right tool is proof of reasoning. So we've been kept using it just to see when that switchover happens. We expect we'll have to shift this in the future.
It's kind of worrying right now. It's thinking like old models. Just kind of reading through, like, I notice a pattern of selective barriers. Some letter pairs like B, C, and C, D have no dividing walls. Okay.
That was a very fast result.
Okay. I think it's just misunderstood, but let's see.
Yeah, not even close. I guess we'll try it again with the image, see if that makes a difference, give it its best shot, but it's generally concerning that the reasoning time on this is really low for all of our tests so far.
Yeah.
It just hasn't spent a lot of time thinking through it. And for being billed as such an agentic reasoner, something that's really going to process your problem, 30-hour runtime, we're not seeing that. Again, maybe it's a function of the web app. We will look forward to trying this in some other formats, but it just does not seem to be applying the level of thinking the prompt requires.
So I tried to give it a little bit more here. Solve the maze with the given prompt and image. We gave it the image. But yeah, this seems like very old reasoning, right? Like it was...
Yeah, again with that regression, yeah.
It's trying to brute force. That's what the old reasoning models... We were very excited maybe like a year ago when it's like, wow, it's thinking. Almost doing like a very manual Monte Carlo sort of thing. Maybe it'll be interesting if it doesn't hit this, it does do code execution. We could try it with like a small maze, like a 5-sized maze. But I mean, look, it's not great that it's not able to nail this.
Yeah.
At
this day and age, you shouldn't be using a reasoning model that has to be reduced to a 5x5 maze.
Yeah. Yep. Very true. Okay. So this time it is tried to use a pathfinding approach using code. So it's tried to represent it as code. I think
it also got tripped up that it thought our dashed walls were permeable.
Yeah.
But it should be able to gut check itself against the image and go, oh, that's not the case.
Mm-hmm. Now it's still use BFS.
The ceiling there. There's no concept of a ceiling in a 2D plane.
Error maze is not defined. That is really not good. Okay. I use BFS. 40 steps. Very good.
Okay. Well
so it
done.
Still gets it.
Well done.
It was able to get there in the end. It was a little bit concerning when we were looking through the analysis. Sometimes it was just getting very rudimentary errors, like maze is not defined, which is a bit strange.
Can we see the best solution to see if it found that or if it just found a solution?
Oh, this should be best, yeah.
Yes?
No. I think this is the whatever. I forget what it's called, taxi problem or whatever. But yeah, I think that should be correct.
Okay, so well done. It is solved 20 by 20. That's huge. I think I'm tempted to give it a crank and say, can it solve a 30 by 30 maze? What do you think?
Let's give it a go.
And for the viewers, giving it the image seemed to massively help it. So, could be a function of it just doesn't like how we represent the maze in our ASCII art. Could be a function of image being better at solving for images, maybe anticipating some of the back and forth, take a screenshot of the web app that you get in some of the cursors of the world.
Image. So for its best possible chance, let's just do what we did before. I guess we'll see really soon if it's going to use a code-based approach. Because the first time it ran for like 30 seconds and you didn't see it do any code analysis. Obviously it wasn't going to hit it. So let's see.
Oh, okay.
We've got 59 steps in total. Okay. So we're just going to immediately render this. Render AI path. Nope. So this would have just been a misunderstanding. Well, actually, now that I see it, it's probably not done even a BFS. It could just be that it's misrepresented the ASCII. But yeah, so it breaks down here. We'll quickly have a look. Was it trying to use BFS?
It says it did, breadth first search, yeah.
Yeah, well, maybe it's just probably how it tried to represent the edge of the maze is just wrong. So presumably BFS saw that it just had a free path at the end. So unfortunate, like obviously it doesn't infinitely scale, despite what you might think, just because it can't represent the strings correctly. But at the very least, the last two attempts we tried, it was able to use coding, which is, good enough for increasing its ability to do these agentic reasoning tests. So
Yeah, and a bit of a redemption story for it, right? It was sort of middling in the results so far. So I think an optimistic take on this is that Anthropic does seem to be building towards quite a powerful agent. It's not here yet. This release feels a little overhyped to me for what we're seeing.
Yep.
But feels like the flicker of something that could be great. If you're looking for the best reasoning on the market right now, I think you're still at GPT-5 generally. With Claude might have an advantage on some of the purely agentic reasoning tests. But a bit of redemption at the end. I'm glad to see it because I was feeling pretty down about 2/3 of the way through this video thinking, I just don't know if we have a model worth using here. But this was quite a good reaction.
100%. Well, I think that summarizes it well. Feel free to let us know in the comments if you've had any great findings with 4.5. Otherwise, we will hope to get you a few more videos this week. Sora 2 has just been announced. So fingers crossed we can try and get something like that for you. Okay, thanks so much, folks.